Hey everyone, quick little announcement here from Fishing the DMV. Our club membership on Patreon is nearly full. There are only I'll repeat, four membership spots still available. Once these spots are gone, they're gone, and I'll be closing down the club membership to new members until 2026. At that point, you can try to sign up, but it'll be at a higher rate. All Patreon members will receive 5% off their orders to Jake's Bait and Tackle, 10% off their orders to Tiger Crankbaits, 10% off their orders to Catoctin Creek Rods. You'll also gain access to our private Facebook group community. You'll also be allowed to enter our 5 club membership tournaments only with guarantee payouts, members only content, ad-free, commercial-free episodes of the podcast, Patreon supporter giveaways, and so much more. And you get all of this for $6 a month, which is less than a pack of Cincos or a jackhammer chatterbait. And since we're under our 10 membership spot, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to give everyone a 10% off their membership if they sign up for the year. So that brings it down to under $65 a year, locked in indefinitely as long as you want to be a member. Hurry up because there's only so many spots left before I shut down the club to any new members until 2026.
You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Fishing the DMV. I'm your host, Thomas Ahrens, and today we're heading back up north to the Upper Bay. I'm here with Jerry Hodge, who is the president of the Youth High School and Junior Upper Bay Bassin High School group, and also the main tournament director for the youth. He also had a massive win with the Chester County Bassmasters. There's a lot we're going to be talking about in this episode. So, Jerry, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Thomas. I mean, it's been cool just being a part of watching your videos and stuff. I really appreciate all that you put out there for everybody to learn. I mean, I took some kids last year down Lake Anna, watched the video of yours, and was able to utilize some things that we learned there, put it to use on the water, and came home with the win. So pretty cool.
Glad Thank you. I appreciate it. It's interesting because we do have a lot of bodies of water that don't get the limelight of the Potomac, the James, the Upper Bay. Deep Creek is a great example that we might touch on today. And this kind of ties into our first thing about being a youth tournament director. And I guess before we get into the weeds of that, as always, like, how did you get into fishing and how did you get into the position of president of a high school youth group?
Well, so I've lived around this area my whole life. And, you know, when I was young, it was definitely a little bit of everything fishing, you know, brim, catfish, whatever we could do. And as I got older, I was about 20 and I started getting into bass fishing. I had my son at 22. And from there, things got interesting when it come to bass fishing. I'm now 38 and he has been raised on the water bass fishing. I mean, if you ask him if he wanted to go target anything else, he would probably tell you no. I mean, it's unless there's a chance he can catch a bass, you know, which is what I wanted to begin with. I mean, so I don't regret it, you know, not by any means. But I ended up becoming a part of a group called Bass Legends, who are local up this area, and a great group of guys, really good group of guys. And I fished with them for 5 years, and my son also fished with them. Now, my son was able to get into the program and become little Joey Booker's partner, and that's what got us into tournament fishing. Now, he was fishing his first tournament before I actually did, and, you know, we just kind of jumped in it together. We grew off one another, learned together, you know, him and I, and he aged out of the Bass Legends part, so they don't have a high school group, and they're actually a Pennsylvania team. So what I wanted to do once a group of the kids got to be 16 years old and aged out of Legends, that's where my vice president, Tony, and myself decided we wanted to do Upper Bay Bassin, you know, and have high school and junior both affiliated. Now, that opens up the door for these kids to keep on competing against one another as high schoolers. And that was our motivation to do it. Now, we also wanted to provide them another opportunity. You know, my opinion, any opportunity these kids get to get out and compete is a plus, and it's going to build them as an angler throughout the years. So opening up another avenue for them to fish as well was also part of it. Now back to the Pennsylvania, Maryland thing. Maryland has never actually had a bass fishing club through the Student Angler Federation. So this is the first and only club through the Student Angler Federation. Bass does have a couple clubs throughout the state, but not Student Angler Federation, which is a great group, you know. So that's where creating this club came to fruition. You know, that's where we wanted to push that. And I mean, it's been a lot of fun. It's took a lot of work to get to this point, but we're now a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have a board. We have our monthly meetings. We try to keep up the schedule. We have really nice weigh-in equipment. Everything we have to weigh in is top notch. It really is. And thanks to our sponsors, and there's many, you know, we're able to put all this together and have that kind of stuff and have the holding tanks that we have with the aerators in them for the fish and things like that, you know. So I'd like to thank all them for sure, you know. But it's been a lot of fun, and I hope it grows, and I hope it grows not only in the state of Maryland, but also in Delaware and New Jersey, as every year we have for the high schoolers what is called the Tri-State Championship for Delaware, Maryland, and New Jersey. Now, for the last 5 years, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey hasn't had anybody that was in a position to put on a state championship. So in Virginia, Scott Whitmore has done that, and he's done it on the Potomac, and he's done it on Lake Anna for the last 5 years. He's kind of altered between the two. It's been a lot of fun fishing with them as tournament directors. They do a great job. And just for them to step up to the plate and do it for Delaware, Maryland, and New Jersey when, you know, it's not their state, you know. So for them to do that is awesome. I take my hats off to them. I thank them all the time for it. And now it's time for somebody like myself to step up to the plate. And this year we'll be opening a Tri-State Championship for the juniors for the first time ever. It's going to be May 31st on Lake Anna, held in conjunction with the high school Tri-State Championship. So that'll be cool.
How, if a parent is listening to this, how would they get their kid involved? What is the process?
So they could easily get a hold of me, and depending on where they live, and you know, you brought up Deep Creek Lake a second ago. I have a kid that lives down that way. It's part of the club. You know, the kid's ate up with fishing. He really wants to learn. His parents are supporting him 100%. Great kid. I've had him up here fishing twice already, and it wasn't even in a tournament. Just kind of up here showing them around, showing their dad, getting them some trails marked on their units so they can get around up here on the bay because it can be tricky. And just getting to know the kid, getting to know his parents because they live 4 hours away, you know. And if I can help in one way get people around there to open up their own club so that everybody can be a part of that, that would be fantastic. Now, if they want to be a part of my club as well, or just be a part of my club, that's fantastic as well. Wouldn't mind it either way. When kids have boats, their parents have boats, they can sign right up with us no matter what time of year it is. They can sign up in the middle of the season if they want. They won't be able to win Angler of the Year, obviously, but they can always sign up. It's the kids that we want to keep bringing on. And that's why we need boat captains a lot too, because a lot of these kids that are ate up with fishing don't have a boat. You know, so we have a lot of guys that volunteer as a boat captain, and we get a lot of kids in that don't have boats as well. You know, so if a parent's listening and they don't have a boat, that's not completely out of the question, because come the start of next season, depending on where numbers are with who has boats, who don't have boats, we can get them in. You know, the last thing I want to do is put myself in a position where I got to get 15 volunteers though, because that gets really hard, you know.
Has it been harder in recent years to get boat captains?
It is. I can't blame nobody. Everybody wants to get out there. Everybody wants to be ripping some lips, and a lot of these guys have kids at home that they're not taking out. So I could see, it is hard to get boats. It's something that I constantly struggle with, but I definitely keep my faith up, and I know that there's a lot of people out here that do support it. They just can't get the schedule to line up for this one or that one. So, I'll always keep pushing to get the captains, and I always do my best to get these kids on the water, and I've been lucky to be able to do so, been blessed to be able to do so, I know there's probably a lot I'm throwing out tonight, but we are here real soon. We're going to be doing some opens on the bay, and it's going to be to give back to the anglers. We're going to have 100% payback out of Anchor Marina, and the way that we will raise money for the kids will be 50-50 raffle. We have like a crab and beer raffle we do every year. And we'll sell raffles that way. We'll get some stuff donated that we can raffle off that day. One of our sponsors is the Naughty Goose. They're going to supply like their grills and stuff, and have somebody cook so that we can sell food to the anglers coming in, getting off of the water. And we're going to give 100% back to the anglers. We're going to keep no money. We're not going 80%, 90% payback. We're doing 100% payback. We'll have a side pot for them. We'll have a lunker for them. Then we'll get all their money back. Wow. The only thing we ask is just buy some raffle tickets, or, we'll have a donation box there if people just want to donate $5 or something. It's always cool, whatever. Now we'll also, the biggest thing is we'll have a donation box for like loose tackle, guys that are getting rid of some things, guys that have some things in the garage that they're like, dude, I really need to get rid of this box. They can donate it to a club where some kids will get it for prizes. That's normally what we do. Any tackle, rods, all that we get donated, we will put it together for first, second, third, lunker, and then everybody that fishes leaves with something. And that's all of our tournaments. So all that stuff would be divvied up throughout the year as prizes to the kids, and we'll have a location for people to be able to drop that stuff off. So if putting all of it together only gets tackle and rods donated to the kids, I'm happy. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. I want to give back to the anglers. I want the anglers around the area to know that we appreciate everybody that helps, everybody that donates, everybody that captains, everybody that says hi to the kids, that gives them, hey, throw this today or throw that today, throw them a little nugget here or there. All of it's appreciated, and we want them to know that it is, and we want to show that it is. So,
putting your other hat on, which is as a tournament director, what are the rules and regulations when you want to put on a tournament or a get-together? What is that like?
So, in the state of Maryland, at least, there's really three main factors if you need to pull a permit to hold a black bass fishing tournament. And this is where a lot of people get confused too, because they'll tell you, if I don't have more than 10 boats, I don't need a permit. Well, that is true, but it's once you reach 10 boats, you have to have a permit. And that's only one of the reasons you need a permit. The other reasons would be, so one reason is you have 10 boats or more. Another reason is there's anything to win. And another reason is if you're bringing fish back to a certain location to be weighed in, you also need a permit. Now, I never actually tried to get a permit before being the president of our club. So I think in one way or another, you have to be a tournament director of a club that is affiliated with either Bass or Student Angler Federation or MLF or TBF. You have to be affiliated with one of them and be a tournament director to be able to pull the permit. And then again, you have three different reasons: 10 boats or more, bringing fish back to a certain location, or if there's anything to win. Once you get the permit, it's all about where you're holding it. That's going to pull. That's the number one thing. So in my opinion, I love fishing the Conowingo Dam up there, the Conowingo Reservoir. I love it. But if I hold the same tournament up there, I might get half of the boats, maybe.
Interesting. So you see that even at the youth level, which is fascinating, where some places will draw more boats than others.
Yeah. Now, next year, 2026, in April, I will be doing a high school tri-state championship, which would be Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey. And on the same day, held in conjunction, we will be doing a junior tri-state championship, and those will be held on the bay. Now, back to like Deep Creek and back to like Potomac and things like that. I want my goal is to grow this sport throughout the entire state and in the surrounding states as well. And one way I can do that is people that are interested in doing this and people that are interested in becoming a national qualifier for Student Angler Federation and going and fishing the worlds for the Student Angler Federation. I can move these tournaments. If I've gotten in contact with some parents down by Deep Creek Lake and they got, 6 kids in their club and they only run out 3 boats, it's all they need is 6 kids. They can start a club. They can have 3 boats, 2 kids per boat, and there's their club. It can grow from there. They can keep it the same. Now, say we have somebody over in Marbury, Maryland area that does the same thing through Student Angler Federation. They get them a little club going. And the next thing you know, we're growing throughout the state. I can take this tri-state and move it to the Potomac in 2027, and then move it to Deep Creek in 2028, and back to the Bay in 2029. The last thing I want people to think is, oh, he's going to get this going and, he's fishing in his backyard. Well, that's not my goal. For one, once you do get to that level and the Maryland, like the state tournament director is actually holding the championship, you actually have to fish in your state. The only reason Maryland, Delaware, and New Jersey don't fish in their state right now is because Virginia actually does the tournaments for us. So
I would also just think from the idea that you are dealing with youth and you're trying to develop anglers like you develop athletes. And if you just fish the Upper Bay or the Lake Anna elites, like if you just fish Lake Anna, are you developing a well-rounded angler? And that's to where I think that's what's so interesting with programs like you. Of like, yeah, guys, we're going to force you to go to this lake because, spoiler, you're going to learn. You have to learn how to catch them on different places to develop.
100%, and that's why we're Upper Bay Bassin, but for our club, just our club, we hold 6 tournaments a year. 4 of them are on the Bay. 2 of them are on the Conowingo. In my opinion, it's a good 2 bodies of water because they're so much different to build anglers on, especially the Bay. And then when you throw the Octorara, now you got the lake and the reservoir type of fishing with the tidal type of fishing. And if you can figure both of them bodies of water out, and you can train a kid or a young angler to figure them bodies of water out, they can go anywhere and compete, man, and they can be competitive doing it. I truly believe that. And we have the likes of people like Gray Buck, we got Brian Smith, we have guys that are local sticks that have made it to the next level. Adriana Avina, we have guys that's grown up on the Bay, and the Bay has really, really helped them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's so good that you're getting the diversity, because I remember in my club, all you did was fish the Potomac River back in high school. And first time I went to a lake, it's like, this is different. Like, this is way different. I'm used to fishing like 3 feet of water and hardcore heavy braid. Now we have to do this fairy wand stuff. And it took a while to get adjusted before I went to college. And so it's a good service you're doing, balancing it out. Another question that I had was, a lot of times the word high school program or youth school program gets thrown around, and what is the association with high school? So example is, does your kid have to be a member of a certain high school to be allowed to be eligible? Is it more kind of like travel ball where that's not necessarily the case?
No, that's a great question, because that right away, those are a lot of my questions and what I have come to find out. So most schools don't end up getting enough kids in one school to be able to put it together. So what you end up doing is you get a teacher or a principal rather to sign off saying that, we don't really have interest in having a bass fishing team. And with that, you will just open up your club as what is called a community club and not through the school. Now, if your school does want to do it, that's fantastic. It really, really is. But I would suggest that they find the kids that are going to run it, because the schools don't have the interest or the help to be able to run it, or the knowledge even, because not a lot of them even know anything, the first thing about bass fishing. And they can't just bring somebody in and pay them to specifically do bass fishing with this club. You know what I mean? So I would suggest go to the school, make sure the school doesn't want to do it, get a letter from them to say, I didn't even actually need a letter, because Maryland has been so many years without anybody, doing anything for the youth at all. So, they were like, dude, if you want to do this, we're ready to get you on board right now. Let's do this. There's a woman named Victoria at the national office, and I'm telling you, she is awesome. I don't want to make her too busy by saying, hyping her up, and then all these people start calling her. But I promise you, she can help you get a club started. Reach out to me first, take some suggestions from me, and then I can set you up with her, and you can get a club up and going. It's not that hard. You need 6 kids. If you jump off the boat with 6 kids, I need you to have 3 boats.
Okay.
6 kids, 3 boats, man, you can have a club going. Now, there is actually some people that have actually opened some clubs just to do some shore fishing things from ponds and stuff too. So, there's that option too. Myself and then Victoria and everybody at the national office are willing to do this for the kids one way or another. How can we make it happen? Okay, you don't have boats, you don't have bodies of water where you really fish boats too much anyway, but you have this group of kids that's ate up with pond popping and fishing for bass, and they'd like to wear a jersey and do some kind of competition. All right, well, let's set that up. Let's set your club up so that you guys are bank anglers. You're bass fishing from the bank. Get you a way to weigh everything in. All your stuff is catch and release, weigh in on the go, because you're at a pond. And there's a couple throughout the states that actually do that. So there's other options too.
What is the state of youth fishing in this area? Is it on the uptick? Is it kind of just stagnant? Is it on the downtrend? What is your vibe with it after post-COVID?
I would say it's going up. So there's a lot of kids, and I live right here in Northeast Elkton area with the bay right here. So there is a lot more kids walking downtown across the bridge with a bait caster in their hand than there is a spinning combo in their hand.
Mm.
And I like seeing that. And I say that because they're already somewhat experienced. They already have that tick to go. Joe Booker had stopped on the side before, he's the president for Bass Legends, and he stopped at the bridge before and was, hey, talking to some kids and like, hey man, would you want to join a club? And one of the coolest kids we ever had go through that club came and joined that club from that conversation that day. I think it's on the up. And I would like to be a part of continuing to get it up. I would really like to try to help grow the sport. The thing is you might have 80 boats, 78 boats in a tournament this week, but 4 years from now, if these kids ain't picking up these rods and going out here and getting jobs so that they can sign their life away on buying a boat so they can go compete, you're not going to have 40 boats in them tournaments.
That's such an interesting thing, because regardless of live scope, it's expensive just to get a boat or a fiberglass boat. And something that's very, I would say, unique to our area, because Jared Mounts, who him and his family own Jake's Bait and Tackle, they have a fishing club too. And a lot of people, if they do own a boat, it's probably a jet boat. because of the Shenandoah River, the Upper Potomac, the Susquehanna in your area. And you're telling some parents, not you, but just the industry, is like, hey, listen, you have a jet boat, that's not allowed. You have to do this, or you need all these special circumstances. So it's an expensive sport, regardless of electronics, to get your kid involved and on the water.
Absolutely. I mean, chatterbaits are $20 nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, pack of VMC hooks are $8 for 3 hooks. It's not cheap. It's not. That's for sure.
But with that said, I mean, what you are doing is absolutely commendable. And then, as always, guys, we're going to put a link in the episode description to everything that we've been talking about here. Go check him out. Go get your kids involved, or just support him and just spread the good word. I mean,
much appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And yeah, I mean, the Upper Bay is such a great place to hold this club. And there's a lot of history on the Upper Bay. I mean, really just from a history perspective, has the Upper Bay always been a big time bass fishery, or did it just start really blowing up the last 10, 20 years?
Social media definitely helped blow it up. That's for sure. 100%. I can remember a certain time where there's certain areas that I go in to fish now, there'll be 6 or 7 boats that I never had to worry about a boat coming in. And that has a lot to do with social media. And I know it does. Everybody knows that. But from doing my research of living here and fishing here competitively for over a decade now, there was a point in time where 12 pounds got you a check. I mean, 20 pounds now, you might get a check, maybe not. I've seen 22 pounds not cash a check. I mean, so what happened was there was no grass out there. So that grass was non-existent pretty much for a long time. And it was from what I'm hearing, back in the 70s or something, there was a hurricane that came through and they opened all the dams and stuff. And speaking about that, we're dealing with that right now. I mean, the flats are trashed right now. There's logs out there. It's a bucket of mud. Because the gates from the Conowingo Dam have been open. They've had 8 open twice in the last week. And it's still raining. So, but with that being said, back then there was the hurricane that came through and it put so much dirt out there, it covered what grass was there and just killed it. Well, back in that day, if you had 12, 13 pounds, you might win the tournament, and that was pretty much all the time. Well, then things got better once that grass started growing again. And I think it was the same thing happened. It just got washed down. It got washed down and then it got on the flats. The flats is so shallow and it doesn't move, so it got the opportunity to grow. I mean, it comes down through the dams. I mean, we got grass all the way up in the Susquehanna and the Pennsylvania. There's certain areas that just have a lot of grass now. Well, it's all came down and it's all grown on them flats like crazy. I mean, this year we had grass in places that I did not think we would have grass after the winter that we had. We haven't had a winter where the river froze, where you could walk across it in 5 years or so. And that was always what I was saying. I'm like, well, we ain't had a winter cold enough to kill the grass. So now it's coming back real thick. And I mean, if you're not from here, you'll go out there and you'll be like, I cannot fish that. I mean, it gets bad. It gets completely matted out. You get a low tide. It's August, I mean, it's like a football field out there. And it's grown like crazy. I know that. I know with that cold, I thought for sure there would be areas that it would take until June to get good grass in, and there's been 25-pound bags weighed in from them spots already.
Is there anything else that you could make you go from 12 pounds to 25 than the grass? Was there like a stocking program or anything? Because that's a remarkable turnaround, going from 12 to
I mean, I do have an opinion on that, and I've been asked that before. And my opinion on that is the Aberdeen Proving Ground. So the Aberdeen Proving Ground, there's 2 like rivers in there. And if you look on there, it is nothing but fingers. I mean, it is literally an incubator over there because people are not allowed to operate a boat on the waters over there unless they're a certain somebody that's way up. There is people that can shore fish there in certain areas, and they're targeting snakehead more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in real shallow water. That's why they're getting snakehead more than anything. But throughout the years, as to why that it's able to keep reproducing like that, I think it's because there's so much untouchable water in the Aberdeen Proving Ground that you will never stop the population of bass or snakehead to ever stop on the Upper Bay. Because that water over there is completely untouchable. You cannot go in there and fish it. It is illegal. They will run you out if you try to go in there. I think it's why this place stays. Yes, you have the grass. And the grass, first to the grass, first to the bass. Find the grass, find the bass, And I know it firsthand. I mean, just about every time we either win or do really good in a tournament, we're getting it out of the grass, And for years, I didn't run out to the grass, Well, for years, I didn't finish first and third and second, I didn't get wins not going out. Now, don't get me wrong. The Northeast River fish is phenomenal at times. But it's hard to catch 5 fish that you're going to win a tournament when you're competing with that grass.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the bass population in the grass, I would say, has a lot to do with the Aberdeen Proving Ground because there's so much water there that is untouchable and unfishable.
They always have a place they can go that they're protected. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
100%. And there's going to be a point in time always on any body of water where it's just like, all right, there's no room for you to spawn here.
Yeah. You've
got to go out there and spawn. The fish is going to try to get back as close as possible, but they can sense what's full, what's not. When they will stroll through there and there's every bed has a female on and has males, but they got to go somewhere, so they're going to get as close as they can to it, but they're going to spawn on the flats too, on them banks there as well,
What would you consider for somebody that's outside our area? You say the Upper Bay. Do you have a cutoff of, let's say, above Gunpowder, Middle River, Sassafras? Like
Middle River up.
Middle River up would be considered. Okay.
Is what I would, myself personally, and a lot of people around here. So most people's not running to Middle River. And if they do, they're not going past.
Mm-hmm.
I know Aaron Martins, we all know what he did. He ran down there to Middle River. He came back with a sack every day, and he pulled it off. But any other time of the year, Aaron don't pull that off. There's certain times of the year they're in the Middle River, certain times of the year they're not because of the salt salinity. So once it gets really high, they push up and they go towards the Gunpowder and whatnot.
There was also a fish kill, correct? At some point in history in that area? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that's
such a big area
that does that.
Oh, it's a salinity? Really?
Yeah. I mean, when you get them, I promise you, I have caught flounder in the Elk River.
Damn.
I've caught croaker in the Northeast River. Now, that's not something I target anymore at all or ever did here, but it is something that I've caught here. When we used to go sit on a dock and kind of just fish for whatever, man, there was a couple summers where we were catching croaker left and right. We didn't even know what they were. We were 18, 19 years old. Like, what is this?
I need to do an episode on that because I don't know what the hell happened to the croaker. I remember catching them as a kid, but it just seems like their population has really gone down. I mean, that's another show completely, but that is interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, there's been flounders caught where the C&D Canal meets the Elk River. Right at the other end of the C&D Canal is Delaware Bay.
Yeah, and that's something that I don't think a lot of people that are not from the area understand. Like, you can launch from the Northeast and go. I mean, if you would want to fish the Delaware, I mean, in theory, you could. I mean, it's wild
it's such a massive area compared to any other estuary that you can fish. It's pretty wild.
It really is. And it can spin you out real quick. It really can. It's gigantic, but it can fish small at the same time. But it can also spin you out really quick. And I try to push that to these kids, and it's the truth. I mean, it's so big, it can be overwhelming, but it can fish small enough so that you can do very well and not stress yourself out. But it can also be big enough so where you got yourself spun out by 9:30 in the morning because you've done been to 7 different spots.
Is it a time of year thing when it fishes small versus bigger? I'm assuming like the winter time, it's going to fish small, Northeast River, primary, things like that. Is that generally how it flows? Is it's seasonal based?
More or less, man. I would say yes. But with the grass, how long the grass has been lasting and how early the grass has been coming up, the grass has been playing a factor from the beginning of tournament season to the end of tournament season.
That's nice.
Been insane. And there was a point in time where what you're saying held true even in tournament fishing, where as you got later into the year and the grass started dying off, a lot of winning bags would come out of like the Northeast or the Susquehanna or the Elk or even the Gunpowder for guys that are going that far. Sassafras has definitely had some tournaments come out of there, won. But it's hard to beat them flats all the way up until, in my opinion, December.
And something we'd also have to add here for people that are listening, I think it's also the difference between a one-day event and a multi-day event, because someone could be like, well, somebody drove to the Chop Tank for a 4-day event. Well, like that's going to be different versus a one-day all-or-nothing jackpot where the weights will be higher and 15 pounds a day is not going to do it. And I think that's why a lot of people do make these gargantuan runs, like when the elites came here, is because it's not going to take 28 pounds a day to win. You just need to find fish to your own, or at least that's my hypothesis.
No, it's very true. I mean, just the Chester County win, what was that, the 3rd or something like that. So we went out the next day on the 4th and fished Susquehanna Flats Trail. We came in with 14 pounds, bud. The day before we had 24 plus. We went, and I even mentioned to my partner at the end of the day, I'm like, hey, well, at some point we got to start fishing this like a 2-day tournament, because we're fishing again tomorrow and we're sitting on 25 pounds. And, I said that kind of being serious, but joking at the same time, because the very following week after that, or 2 weeks after that, whatever, this past tournament last weekend, because for some reason there wasn't a tournament this week on the Bay, 24 was 3rd place. 24 plus. So it was 24, 24, 24, all in the 24 plus pounds was 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So there was a team that came in that tournament for Susquehanna Flats Trail with 24 pounds and finished 3rd place.
Wow.
So we were starting to fish it like that. And then, it was kind of like, well, a lot of people's already seen us catch fish here anyway. Like we might as well just stay here, finish this out, see what we go back with. And then the next day we went out there, fished the same stuff, and ended up with 14 pounds.
It's interesting now that I'm covering so many tidal bodies of water on this channel, from the Albemarle Sound, the York River, the James, the Potomac, and the Bay.
Yeah,
and I'm really cool too. And I'm finding these through lines of not all tidal fisheries fish alike. Like the James is really good for milk runs. It's kind of set up with the current and everything for like that. Potomac is more camping in the grass beds. Would you say the Chesapeake is more, does it lean towards more of camping in an area or doing a milk run?
Well, I know a couple guys up here, man, that sometimes you're like, dude, he needs to just sit still. And the next thing you know, you get back to the ramp and he's got 26 pounds.
Damn.
I mean, I've watched guys that go out there and they kind of they don't move. They put their trolling motor down and they do their thing. And I've watched them come back with 24 plus. I've seen it go both ways. I mean, this place I think if you're going to sit and milk a spot all day, I don't think you can do that 2 days in a row. But if you can figure out how to milk run and hit this, hit that, and keep moving all day, I think you can turn that into a multiple day. I think you can make that work multiple days in a row. But then again, there's so many people in some of these ditches that, I mean, it's just hard to even get in there and fish. You know, I mean, if you haven't fished a tournament on the Upper Bay and you do come up here, just you gotta leave the he's fishing too close kind of at the dock, you know, because I mean, I've had some people come really close to the boat, you know, like I normally don't, you know, don't hoot and holler about it because it's just something that happens here, and I know that because I'm from here. I've fished here for so long, but it can get real tight.
It's a culture thing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It gets to be a shame sometimes, but
it is. But it's a culture thing. I mean, you hit on the head. Like, especially grass fisheries like this, you have traffic jams, especially in the springtime spawning flats. I mean, I grew up on the Potomac River. Everyone knows what that nightmare can be like, where it's bumper to bumper and Mattawoman. But that's the same personality that you need in Florida, where it's going to be, they're all in the monkey box. So guess what? That's where you got to be. Yeah. And it seems like the Bay's that way too. And I guess my question for you is like, what do you think is worse, the traffic jam on the Potomac in the spring or the Upper Bay?
I've obviously fished the Bay a lot more, but I have a decent amount of tournament experience down there fishing ABAs, club tournaments, and stuff like that on the Potomac. And I would have to say that it is the Bay by far.
Wow.
I would say it's not even close because sometimes you get like 3 ditches that are really that's just where the fish are. They are almost nowhere else. That's where they are. Mm. And there's point in times where, you know, there's 30 boats in each ditch. You're like, now the thing that can get to you sometimes is when you see somebody come through with 4 people on the boat, they know there's a tournament going on. They go right in the middle of everybody. Just troll right through everybody, you know, but it is what it is. I mean, everybody's out there having fun, whether they're tournament fishing or whether they're fun fishing or trying to teach a kid how to fish, you know,
So mentally, going into like your tournament, then when you find your area, is the primary thought process defense? You get your casting angle set up, you just power pull down, and then you hunker down until the tide swings, then you do something else, and you just deal with the boat traffic?
I kind of let the fish tell me that myself because we will power pull down and just keep sticking them in a spot. But sometimes, you know, it just don't work. You know, these little hard spots and stuff don't load up as quick because there's so many people around that are getting to them way before they're intersecting them way before they can even get over there. You know, So a lot of times everybody out there is kind of moving, you know, and if you're not moving, a lot of times then fish ain't going to come to you. And it's not that they wouldn't if there wasn't 30 other boats around.
That makes sense.
If there wasn't 30 other boats around, I believe like on a practice day when you go out there, you can power pull down and you can crack them on the same cast repetitively. Wow. And I've always taught the kids, if you make a cast and you catch a bass, make that cast again at least 2 or 3 more times. If you get bit again, keep making that cast until you cast there 4 or 5 times and don't catch something. Kids have filled a limit out doing it. But when there's 30 other boats around, they're catching them fish as well. You know, they're throwing that way. They're intercepting them before they ever get over there to that clear area with that hard spot. And fun fishing, you can set up on a spot like that. Tournament fishing, I don't think it works as well.
It's interesting because like it's such a hard lesson for people not in the area to understand, where if you're a North Carolina guy, you're used to running 200 gallons of gas, 1,000 points, versus a lot of times in tidal fisheries, it's actually a good strategy to be like, I'm just not leaving this creek because they're here, and I'm going to just go in a circle and I will get my 5. But for a lot of people, that's just like nails on a chalkboard. Like, I can't do that. I can't just sit in a circle for 8 hours, but there will be people that catch 25 pounds doing it.
I'll tell you what, man, I think my partner, Ricky, and myself, I think that's one good thing that we have going for us is, for one, I will throw something different than him a lot. But if what he's throwing is working, I will put it on. Now, vice versa. Now, if I'm catching something on something, he'll tie it on too. But I will hold off a lot longer before I'll make that switch until I know, all right, that thing is getting bit. We both need to be throwing that. I'll always throw something different, at least a different color. But also, he is really good at milking one dock or one rock or one log, one laydown. I mean, my man can fish that laydown for 5 hours and never move. He can do it. And I can be right on the back of the boat. Like, I'm going to be the best net man there is if I don't get none today, because I know they're there. I know what he's doing works. You know, I mean, he's in the front boat. There's a lot of times I'm catching something that hits the box too off of something else. But when we're in that type of area, obviously it's why co-anglers hate being backboated is what they call it. But when you're fishing as a team and you want that guy being able to get in there and fish that efficiently, you don't want to be up on the front of the deck with him making errant casts over there. You need to just get in the back of the boat, wait on fish to get on the line so you can net it and throw something else over here and try something else in the meantime. You know, because there's times where we've came in with good bags and I caught them all because we was out here doing one thing, or he caught them all because we was over here doing this thing, and it doesn't matter who's catching them. You know, there's days where we both just catch them, you know, but when we get into something like that, like a laydown or something, that dude can fish it for 4 hours and do very, very, very well.
With over a decade of experience on the Upper Bay, how do you keep things fresh and not falling into, well, I've had these same 6 hard spots marked for the last 20 years. I'll just go fish those and be done with it. How do you go there and be like, I want to fish this differently, or keep an open mind?
It's hard. I mean, to be honest, it really is, because this place can humble the best fishermen around. I mean, you can go out here one day and catch 24 pounds and go out there the next day and catch 10. And it's not a joke. Like, you really can. So I would say you have to be willing to jump around. You have to be willing to not put your power pole down and make repetitive casts. You have to be willing to put in 5 hours of fishing before you catch fish for 30, 40 minutes because the sun's going down and it's time to leave. And a lot of times somebody will blame that, oh, well, they're biting right before the sun goes down. Possibly. But I think you just found them. You know, you found them, you got on them, you caught them for a little while, now it's time to go. And you might find them in the first 10 minutes, but you might not find them for 3 hours. I've had 11 o'clock roll around without a fish in the boat and go back with 18, 19 pounds. And I'm from here. I live 5 minutes from Anchor Marina. So, I mean, it's hard to stay on top of the fish out here. I've watched, so there's a man named Duke Nave that fishes here a lot. And he fishes a lot of the opens. He fishes, the dude is an absolute hammer. He is a stick. And he normally is doing very, very well in all tournaments. You know, he'll get a hiccup to here and there, just like everybody. But he stays very consistent. And I'm always asking myself, how? You know, I know he lives like 45 minutes away. And he stays so consistent. It's unreal. There's a lot of people up here that can catch a big bag, you know, myself included. But to stay that consistent is a very difficult thing to do up here. I mean, Dave Wilder is Brian Smith's partner, fishing the Potomac a lot and fishing the Bay a lot, you know, throughout years when them guys were growing up and whatnot. You know, they're real good buddies. And he fishes a lot here with a man named Frank Arthur now. Well, them two stay pretty consistent as well, you know, and there's just a few guys that always stay very consistent, you know. Now, Ricky and myself, we stay pretty consistent, but when I say consistent with Duke Nave level and Dave and Frank level, these guys are in the top 10 all year. You know, they're in the top 5 80% of it. Mike Centor, absolute stick around here. Like the guys just stay very consistent. I think that's the hardest thing to do around here is stay that consistent.
It reminds me of the mythical Tyler Trent down at Bugs Island, where it seems like that dude wins every other BFL in tournament on Kerr. It's insane. And I think a lot of them, I don't know if this is Tyler or whatever, I'm not speaking for him, but like when you fish one place and you have a Rolodex and a journal of every tree and stick, it just gives you such an advantage, especially on tidal fisheries where I think there's a huge advantage. I mean, again, I tell kids all the time when they ask me about how do I practice for tide, I said it's hard because if you're not at the right tide at the right spot in practice, you could be going over the winning bag and you don't know it because you have to fish a creek through the whole tide swing to figure out what the juice is if you've never been there before. Mm-hmm. And that takes time, man, a lifetime.
There's certain areas that with certain tides, I won't fish them. I won't. I mean, I have enough experience in them areas where if the tide ain't doing a certain thing, if it ain't coming in over there, it ain't going out over there, I'm not going over there. I mean, I've fished enough over there at high tide. I know my chances of catching a bass are very slim. I think that has a lot to do with, the way banks are worked and whatnot, how many go up under, they obviously get a lot more places to run to. But there's places at low tide I won't fish too. And I mean, obviously, the water gets lower. I mean, it pushes the bass out. I mean, they can't be on a 1 foot flat munching all day opposed to a 3 foot ditch that's 20 yards to the right. So you could be making a cast this way and literally make a cast in the other direction and be on the juice. I mean, it's that much different around here when it comes to fishing that tide. I mean, there's just certain areas I won't fish with certain tides.
If you heard the old thing about this was old school taught to me in high school, which is low tide, you try to fish grass as the water's pulling out of the grass, and high tide, you look for hard cover. That's what I was taught super duper young as a high level thing. Why is it that certain cover is better on high versus low tide?
I mean, when it comes to the grass, through my experience with Chesapeake Bay, as a high tide, you can actually work certain baits and you can't work other baits. So if the tide's up and you can get a spinnerbait over top of it, or you can get a chatterbait over top of it, it's good, and I understand that. But some people don't realize that actually at a low tide that place is actually better. You just need to be able to fish your bait inside of the grass. You need that bait to get inside of it. It can't be above it at times. Now, there's times where they're coming out of that grass and they're chewing on something that's above the grass. But they typically like to stay in the grass. I mean, how many times you caught a bass and it's got grass hanging out of its gill? I mean, they're not afraid to eat it, at all. And the reason is because bait fish hide in it. I mean, bait fish don't normally come up to the top like, hey, come get me. They're down in that grass, so you got to get down in that grass. I think a low tide in certain areas of the grass is most definitely better, once it gets choked out and now you're frog fishing, if you know where to go, your low tide's what you want in that grass every time, every time. But I've come across problems with laydowns and stuff where if it's low tide, they just don't eat. They just don't eat at all. But once the tide turns to start coming in, most of your laydowns are going to be in some type of creek, some type of channel swing where they're getting stuck. It's the only way for them to be there. They have to get stuck. So if it's just wide open, it'll just keep right on floating. But once it starts to sink, there has to be something there. There's either going to be a creek coming up or there's some kind of channel swing. And once that tide starts moving around them laydowns, then bass come up to the laydown. Now they start to get active. But I think once the tide's all the way, once it's 3/4 of the way in, I throw the laydowns out. And the reason I say that is because once that tide gets up there, I feel like the bass get so tucked to the bank that they're under the bank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So once it's 3/4 of the way in, I tend myself to try to pull off of the laydowns and go to my docks or go to the grass and wait for the tide to swing to start to go out. Because if I'm fishing at a really high tide on them laydowns, I feel like the bass got to the root and got to the bank and got up under there so far that I can't get my bait back to where that bass is. So I tend to leave it at a high tide, but I really want it for an incoming tide. So once that tide's halfway in, well, quarter of the way in till it's about 3/4 of the way in, that's when I'm fishing every laydown that I can find. Every laydown that I know of in the back of my head that I think holds fish on that incoming tide, that's when I'm hitting them. But once it's all the way in, I back off.
And that's something, unless you spend 10, 20, 30 years on a tidal body of water, you're not going to know that. I mean, I definitely see like the low tide bite or the high tide bite, at least in the Potomac in certain areas, really starts when you start seeing the current barely moving. If it's pulling out and you just start to see it barely moving, it works. But Potomac, it generally, the current doesn't get to the point where it rips. I've been to the James and the Rappahannock where that shit moves. Like there is a window where the current can literally get so fast they stop biting, which is neat. But unless you live there, you wouldn't have that Rolodex of information to know.
Yeah. I mean, I know I live really close to the Delaware and all, but I don't have a lot of experience over there. But I have fished over there twice, and that tide is so insane. I mean, you're literally looking at land
That's so crazy.
Just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're like, what is going on? You're like, you don't even need to touch your trolling motor, and you are rolling out with the tide. I was watching I watched a guy do a seminar. Mike Centor did a seminar, I think with Bass U or something, and he was talking about fishing the Delaware, and he had a bass that was next to him, and he was there for 2 hours and just following the whole way out. He said, I never touched my trolling motor, just fished the tide out because that's what you do there. I found that out, the next year. But he said that this one bass he could watch and just watched it the whole time. It stayed in the same position and just went out with the tide with him with the boat and just rolled right out with it. Pretty neat, but
I would be terrified to run that place. That looks like it would claim so many lower units.
I do not like it. I do not like it. I think it's really hard to catch fish. I think it's really hard to figure out. I would not saying that I'm not up for that challenge, but I'm just not really intrigued of doing it, I guess you could say. I mean,
it's the fun factor. It's a fun factor. It's when you have tournaments on the schedule that you're excited whether you win or lose. It's like if you had a tournament at Lake Champlain versus the Delaware, it's like one place is like, I don't care if I win, it's just going to be fun to fish it, versus the other place is like, oh God, I don't want to go there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and when you have 30-pound bags achievable in your backyard going to the Delaware, which again, it's just so fascinating because they're so close to each other, but they are polar opposite fisheries, which 100%, is interesting.
Buddy. They're totally different. And the tide swings are extremely different. Like you're talking, what do you got? The C&D canal that connects them is the only thing that connects them unless you go to the point. And 7-foot tidal change to a 2.5-foot tidal change on average. And, obviously we go to 3 foot, but they go to 8 foot, and when we go up half a foot, they go up a whole foot, It's pretty wild. It really is. And that right there opens up a can of worms too, because if we was to keep doing this thing as a tri-state championship moving forward to add the Delaware to the state championship qualifications, we could only help these kids. I mean, if they can throw the Delaware River on top of the Chesapeake Bay and the Conowingo and learn all three of them, I mean, where could they? What are they not learning? There's everything to learn there. You throw the Delaware in there and you start fishing that a lot. And I tell you what, that probably has a lot to do with why people from New Jersey come down here to the Chesapeake Bay and do so well, because they're so used to fishing such a dramatic tidal change that when they come down here to the Chesapeake Bay, it's half as easy for them to figure out. because there's a lot of Jersey boys that come here and do very, very well.
Oh yeah, the Jersey fishing culture is fascinating to me because it's the closest thing you're going to get to that highly pressured Japanese, like you're fishing a lake that's 300 acres, but there's 200 boats and you're going in a circle and you got to get crafty and learn how to really just maximize everything. And there's so many sticks that come out of that culture there, out of Jersey, which is fascinating to me.
Yeah, it fascinates me too. I mean, it really does. It's really cool. I mean, they come down here and I think that, you know, it has a lot to do with it. They're just so used to that 7 foot tidal change, and then they got the lakes and stuff too, you know. So they're very, very diverse at what they do. They can fish the grass and they can come up out of the grass and compete as well, you know.
Jerry, I really appreciate you coming on today. You have anything big coming up that we can promote?
So we do. We have the remainder of our season, which can be found on our website. And, you know, I did send the website for you to add here. And anybody that wants to figure out the rest of our schedule, whether they may have a child and they already own a boat and want to join our club, or simply just want to help volunteer, have tackle that they want to donate, anything like that is always, always, always much appreciated. You know, anybody has any kind of questions, you know, please reach out to me. Look me up on social media and get my phone number. I can send my phone number with you. Maybe you could share with certain people that reach out to you. You know, I don't mind sharing my phone number. I just don't want to put it on blast, you know, but I don't mind talking to anybody that has something to do that's going to benefit the kids or want to do something to benefit the kids or potentially benefit the kids. Now, we do have 3 high school teams that will be competing in SummerSlam this upcoming weekend. It's a really big tournament. Our kids have a tournament this Saturday, that on the Upper Bay. That'll be fun. It's been a tough bite after all this rain and the company. But other than that, we have high school, junior, the tri-state coming up for juniors and high schoolers on Anna. That's May 31st. And there will be a team at a high school level for Maryland, Jersey, and Delaware, as long as each state has people competing that can qualify for nationals. If anybody wants to fish that, it's through the Student Angler Federation. Please contact me. I can get you set up to get registered for that. Again, it's on Lake Anna, May 31st. If you're not already a Student Angler Federation member, we can easily get that done. It's $25, and you can do it upon registration of your team. So the team that you're registering for the tournament, you can take care of that right there. You can do the Student Angler Federation and the registration for the Tri-State Championship all in one stop. So that's really cool. I can definitely set you up to be able to do that, or just go to highschoolfishing.org, and, you know, you can look it up there. Now in June, we have 3 teams that are going to Oklahoma to compete at Grand Lakes. That's going to be really cool. And then we'll be back to finish up our season here on the Bay and just coming to a theater near you. The Open's 100% payback, open for the anglers to benefit the youth anglers. We'll have a donation box for tackle and stuff, and we'll be selling raffle tickets and selling food. That's how we'll make money for the kids, and we want to give all proceeds back to the anglers, man. We want to give 100% back. We want to do a $60 option pot, and we want to do the $10 lunker. So, yeah, coming to a theater near you. I will put that on our website as soon as I can get permits approved. So,
well, guys, there you have it. And then also, congratulations to you for winning stop number 3 with the Chester County Bassmasters. That's awesome.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, my partner and I were hoping that we can keep the momentum up. And through Chester County Bassmasters, we are hoping to qualify for the Bassmaster Team Tournament Trail that'll be held on Lake Hartwell in December. So,
ooh, fun. Yeah. How many more events are there that you have to compete in?
3 more. 3 more events. Yeah, right now we're in there, you know, but time will tell. Time will tell, and how many fish we catch, what kind of weight we put in, you know, that'll tell as well. So
I feel like your season's going to go extremely well. I mean, you're already really cooking with gas. Guys, I'll put a link to the Chester County Bassmasters if you guys want to take a look at their organization and go out there and fish. As always, guys, thank you so much for supporting the show. It means a lot. If it wasn't for you guys on Patreon supporting me, none of this would be possible, like 4 to 5 episodes per week. It's because of you guys. So please just continue to support me and go check out the high school program. It's so important that we get our youth hooked on fishing for the next generation. And we'll see you guys next time on Fishing the DMV.
Yeah,
Bye.
You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.